This is the weekly backdrop outreach meeting for Thursday, March 17, much of the world. We will start our meeting by going around the room and having everyone introduce themselves, give their name, where you're from, and then each person call on the next person to do the introduction. We'll start. I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California. And I will pass it over to Wilbur.
Wilbur Entz. I'm in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Got to call on the next person.
Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a backend developer from Las Vegas, Nevada. Sarvasri, I guess.
Yeah, my name is Sarvasri, and I'm in Walnut Cove, North Carolina. And I'm interested in getting new people going in Backdrop, getting beginners up to speed. Let's see, Martin.
I'm Martin Price, Yorkshire Pudding on the internet. I'm in Northeast England, United Kingdom, and I will go to Greg.
Hello, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Greece. Yeah, interested to help in any way that I can. I just have to go and pet my dog. She's crying. I'll be back. Sorry.
I'll go next. I'm Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. And it is warm enough that the snow is melting and I'm surrounded by mud. Anyways, and I'm recovering from Backdrop Live. We had a big weekend last weekend. Let's see, is anybody left? Wilbur, did everybody go?
Luke.
Luke.
Yeah, I'm Luke. I'm in Ceramon, California, and I probably will have to drop out in a few minutes. I think that's everybody, right?
Okay. Well, Luke, is there anything, if you're going to have to leave soon, is there anything you want to talk about or say before you leave?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So I assume that one of our main topics today would be debriefing Backdrop Live and maybe talking about the next one. Sometimes we've actually set dates before Backdrop Live is over for the next one. At least we tried to do that last time. I think it would be good to pick a date this time. I mean, that seems to me the most pressing thing. The other thing, of course, that I think we don't want to miss is the opportunity to celebrate the and leverage the blog post from Atten Design today about their Stanford Drupal 7 to Backdrop upgrade. So is everybody aware of that blog post? We've been waiting like 6 weeks for them to make a big public announcement, and they made sort of one at Backdrop Live last weekend. There was also, as I think most of us are all aware, they posted a short statement on LinkedIn, nothing very long, but today that blog post is sort of the officially we can let loose now and really talk about this. We've been a little reluctant to make too big of a splash talking about this because we wanted to give them time to get things in order. And they seem to be in order. So anyways, I do think we want to talk about that today. So if there's either of those things that you want to address now, like your thoughts about Backdrop Live and next week before you leave, do you want to do that now or are you good? So. Okay. Not hearing anything from Luke. Let's just have kind of an open discussion, I think, to start with. How did Backdrop Live go? Any feedback almost a week later?
Exciting, exhausting, and exciting at the same time. So many good sessions. I'm not the only one. There are many people that stated that they wanted to be at all the sessions that are happening at the same time, like the same slot.
Yeah.
And we couldn't choose, yeah, which is a good, as other people said, it's a good problem to have. But yeah, really excited. Yeah, cool.
Okay. I opened a feedback topic in the forum, and we started to get some feedback. I haven't checked to see if there's any more.
There's not much more.
There were 2 or 3 posts last I looked.
Yeah, I think there were 2 posts, and I don't think it's grown.
Okay.
I think I posted in Zulip, and this other Nikolai has posted in the forum that we do need to sort of label as to the target audience, as to whether something's for beginners, intermediate, advanced, or for everyone. I think there were a couple of ones that I went to expecting them to be quite technical, and ended up sort of being diluted somewhat. So I think a few other people possibly weren't clear as to whether something was appropriate for them or not.
Sure. Ben, just a quick to catch up, we briefly talked about the whole blog post for the Stanford site, and we'll probably talk more about that after. But we started out just talking about Backdrop Live and feedback. I think we could go ahead and pick some new dates today, and also if we talk about if we want to make any changes, or I don't know, or how we want to do that this time, if we want to manage that discussion any differently. So this Nikolai gave a number of good suggestions in terms of how things might be done differently in the future. Does anybody else have anything else to add? I'm always looking for feedback. I think the most unusual thing about our event, well, the unconference format is, a little bit unusual, but not that much. But the 3 hours on, 3 hours off, going till midnight or 1 o'clock a.m. is unusual, and I'm always looking for feedback on that. And I'm always afraid that we're only getting the people who like it because they're the only ones that are around on Saturday afternoon at 6 o'clock, and the ones who don't like it have left by then. So if generally people have been positive about that. Are people still happy with this, our general format, for the schedule, the timing, the blocks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to abstain from making a comment because I'm not a regular person. Everything works for me. So, but yeah, if it works for the rest of the people in Europe and Australia, then yeah, sure. And I liked how we adapted. Like when we saw that there was a slot that didn't have many sessions, we sort of like canceled it to give people, a chance to rest. Maybe in the future, if we have more people coming from other regions, maybe we can think to extend from 36, I don't know, to 48 hours or something and spread it out a bit. We'll see if that makes sense.
Do you think that there's something about the online format that I get super worn out sitting at my screen for 3 hours straight? And so I feel like having that 3 hour block to rest is really useful between, because I'm just like, wow, I'm so tired. And just give me a chance to like step away, go outside or whatever. So I think that the online format sort of needs the longer breaks, whereas if we're going to do an in-person event, I don't feel like that's quite the same.
Yeah, that's right.
It might work just as well, maybe better, to have 2 hours on, 1 hour off, 2 hours on, 1 hour off. Then you wouldn't have, if you didn't go 3 hours in a row, you wouldn't have to have quite as much of a rest time. And you could get more sessions in that way.
But Greg needs at least an hour and a half for his sleeping.
My only concern, if we make it like 2 hours on, 1 hour off, is that it seems to me that it's going to shorten the overall period, and then it's going to narrow the window that other time zones have to join. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if we were just doing sort of a traditional day, or even like a 10 hours straight, 2 hour on, 1 hour off might make sense.
Exactly.
Spread out over 36 hours. we're going to need bigger breaks than 1 hour at some point.
Yeah.
And so it depends if we want to hold on to that. Our one time zone time slot just is not working out well. And like Greg said, we canceled it this time. It was, I think, Block D. It's the one that is kind of in the middle of the night in the US and late morning or early morning in Europe. I think I'm inclined, so in theory, that should be, I think, the prime time in Europe, but we're not getting participation there in that time slot, which leads me to believe that maybe there's still something else to do. Like,
Well, if it was early morning on a Saturday or a Sunday, then it explains because people that work 5-hour days, they want to sleep in. So they say, they think I'm waking up early every day. I just have my Saturday and Sunday, so I might as well just miss it. And I see Martin smiling there, so I guess that's true. Yeah.
Well, where I was going to go with that is that I think our best on the U.S. time zone, we get the most participation on Friday, sort of morning and afternoon, and we, our participation drops off on Saturday morning as well. And maybe if we really want to include Europe, we need to start on Friday morning in Europe. Our very first Backdrop Live, we started Thursday night, like in the evening in the US, so that there would be Friday morning sessions in Europe. Now, I don't know that they were more popular then, but that was the first time. And then but it was kind of weird to start with most of the participants at like 7 or 8 p.m., which is what we did the first time. So since the second Backdrop Live, we bumped the launch until Friday morning in the US. And I'm just wondering if we shouldn't keep the opening session where it is, but see if we did a block before that's early morning Europe time, if people would be more interested in that. But until I get Europeans actually telling me that would be helpful, I'm nervous about making that change.
It seems kind of odd that to start the event without actually having the whatever is a quote unquote keynote be later. Wilbur, yes.
I think one experience from our Drupal camps in the Twin Cities is that there's a big difference between weekday and weekend participation, and that you get a different crowd and you get a significant drop off on weekend days, that people that are professionals just, they don't have maybe the energy or the commitment to go to a weekend session, and they're just not going to be there. And I think
fair enough. It's family time.
I remembered that when I had my session on Saturday morning, and it was not many people there, and I'm like, and also in the other sessions, that it's like, oh yeah, it's Saturday, right? Other people are doing other things.
Yeah, and then
So
I guess
we're starting earlier and having a Thursday start time so that people in Europe would be there on Friday.
Yeah, and I guess you have different camps. Like you have the people that are willing to participate during weekdays and those that are okay with weekends. And also you have people that have flexible jobs, so they can, even if it's a work day, some people prefer to be outside working hours in their time zone, but others do not mind, and they say they can make time during their business hours and make up for it. So I don't think that we'll ever get it 100% right, but my gut feeling says that as this organically evolves and as the community grows, because I've seen that during this event we had a lot of non-US people join us. As this grows, it's going to evolve organically. Like we're going to have more people making suggestions with regards to which sessions and slots are more convenient for them, and we can adapt. That's what we're getting at.
Sure. I've been trying to get some of my Bangladesh colleagues to participate, and I think it's really hard to get them on Saturdays. However, technically in Bangladesh, Friday and Saturday is the weekend. So moving it earlier on Friday doesn't help a lot. I mean, they do work on Friday, but their schedule is a little different on Friday because most people have the Friday off, I guess. Anyways. Yeah, this is all hard when you're dealing cross-cultural and cross-geographic.
Have we set even a tentative date for the next Backlot Live?
No, I think we should move on to that right now. And let's go to, I'm going to sort of table this to absolute discussion in terms of like whether or not we do the extra European hours. I don't think we have to decide that today, but what we should decide today is the dates. So,
Yeah, usually what we usually do is we allow a week or two after, or even more after the release, like the minor release. So the next minor release is May 15th.
Well, actually, we do it in between. The goal is, this one is like right between 2 months after the release. We did Backdrop Live.
So okay, it's more than 2 or 3 weeks that I said. It's more like 2 months or something, a month and a half.
Right. So really right in between releases is what we've sort of settled on for the last couple. So that makes it easier because we just have to calculate, which the thing is, that's July. And we know that a lot of people are on vacation, but if we went exactly 2 months after, we would be looking at July 15th and 16th.
Yep.
Which is like as exact as we can get in between.
Yeah. Let's just tentatively set that as a date, and then we can change it. And I was about to say that at some points, like I keep forgetting that there's separate camps on that as well. And I'm tempted to go and check if there's any public holidays throughout the world during those days, but having a holiday might be a chance for people to actually join and participate more. So I don't think that it should be a factor. There's some people that prefer to go on holidays during public holidays, to go on vacation, I should say. And some others that, they don't, and they don't get to go to work, so they might join us easily. So yeah.
Anybody have any comments on the July 15th to 16th?
I love it.
Okay.
I'm currently available then, so.
Good. And nobody here lives in a place that's on holiday then, right? Although
I think our school holidays might start then or the week after. I'm not sure, but.
Well, it is. I mean, we have had people remind us that it is in peak summer vacation time. So this is probably the most difficult time. But we do this 3 times a year. Yeah. And I don't think we're going to be able to avoid people's vacation schedules completely. So I wouldn't try to work around that completely. No. But we should probably recognize that we're not going to set attendance records probably in July. Or at least it's going to be harder to do that because it's not.
Yeah. When it comes and being peak holiday season, like summer holiday season, is not necessarily good or bad, because some people prefer to go on vacation in June or September, start of September, because they find better deals. So you never know.
Okay.
I was looking at the 2 hours on, 2 hours off schedule. You would still get, I think, as many or more sessions in the same time zone, but you wouldn't have to sit for 3 hours if that's kind of a problem for people.
For me, it's kind of convenient because I get a break, which means I can do family stuff. I can have lunch, nap a bit, whatever. Whereas in 2 hours, there's not enough. Yeah,
you can do quite a bit more in 3 hours than you can with just 2.
So far, Sarvashri, the feedback has been positive on the 3 hours off and 3 hours on. And I think what people have been saying is that they wouldn't want to go longer than 3 hours. I haven't heard any complaints that 2 hours is too long. So unless that's the complaint, unless you're expressing that concern, would you like to see it shorter?
Well, no, Jen was saying that she was on for 3 hours. That's a long time to sit. That's why I thought that.
Oh, I was saying that I appreciated having 3 hours off because I got really tired after 3 hours, and then having 3 hours off made me really excited before the next 3 hours. But I wasn't complaining about being tired. I was just saying that I enjoyed the break time.
Okay,
I think she was saying she liked the current schedule because she didn't want to go longer. Right.
okay,
Um,
good.
yeah. Okay. So we've got a date. I think the other big discussion that we need to have at some point is more structured sessions and recording them. And whether or not we want to do that at Backdrop Live as part of Backdrop Live or have a separate event for that. And I don't know if we need to or should have that discussion today. Does anybody feel like they want to talk about that today, or should we hold off?
I was reading an article in my magazine. I'm meaning to sort of scan it and share it around. It's on hosting online events, and one thing it suggests is having part of the session as a recorded presentation that you play. So maybe a maximum of 20 minutes or so. And then people can ask questions in chat, and the person who's done it can answer questions in chat during the recording, and then you can have a discussion afterwards. So that's one idea.
Yes, and as Jen would probably point out, we technically encourage that.
Yeah.
We have the option for we have the option for people to upload something in advance. What I think we haven't done a great job at is promoting that option, especially early enough for people to do it. So we have, in this 5 Backdrop Lives where I don't know if we did that the first time. It might be we started that like in the second. But we've been doing that for 3 or 4 Backdrop Lives, and it's on the website to upload a presentation. We mentioned that you could or should do that, and we've only had like 2 people do it. So
yeah,
it has
to me
been
personally, it seems
effective.
like
Go ahead.
To me personally, it seemed like a bit of work, and so I avoided it. I was lazy, but I know that there were people that expressed the opinion that they would like something to be recorded, especially those that couldn't make the time zones, despite the fact that we sort of like tried to accommodate. Yeah, I did a presentation in the Drupal meetup in Melbourne in Australia yesterday, the day before, and I recorded the presentation bit, but then I stopped recording when the Q&A session sort of like started. So it works.
Well, I have thoughts on this topic, but go ahead.
I think another option might be making it available and just asking people in the session if they'd be comfortable with it. And, but in that kind of a situation, you really need to, tell everybody that, like, even one person that doesn't want to record the session means it doesn't get recorded, right? It's not a democratic process where
that also requires that the person who doesn't want to be recorded is comfortable saying they don't want to be recorded. And what might end up happening is people just leave because they don't feel comfortable at the event.
Yeah, I actually saw that. They don't just turn off their camera, they just go, they leave the room. So
yeah, right.
The other thing is that, and Tim mentioned it briefly, the other thing is that because we had people request, hey, why aren't they being recorded? And the simple answer to that is, this is an unconference format. And then the answer lies in what Tim said. Maybe we could have either a different event or specific slots shift into that, organized or whatever you want to call it format, or the regular conference format, right? So we have a mixture, say 2 hours of unconference, 1 hour of, or whatever, how people suits it. And then we flag that, hey, this is being recorded, this is not. And if we make sure that we have during the same hour slot, we have a mixture of recorded and non-recorded sessions, then we won't have people saying, oh, which one should I go to? Because they can watch the recorded one later, right? If they have these things. So I see a benefit in that.
I think another option is that you could stream an event and record it and say to people, if you don't want to be recorded, go to the streamed event and you'll just be able to watch.
But then they can't participate
They
in any
won't.
presentation. Yeah, I think it needs to happen the other way, where if you want your video recorded, you do it ahead of time and you post that so that people who are at the event to talk about things can talk about things. And that way they have a chance to watch your presentation ahead of time and you can talk about what you saw in it. And it sort of leaves more time for the discussion, which is what we want to do anyway. And if you have a presentation, it can be any length and it can happen before that and it won't eat into discussion time.
Yeah.
So I want to throw out a new idea I have, which is a hybrid of something I've thought about before. I think the thing is that recording conference sessions, like people who do prepare presentations, it's a whole different discipline to like record that in advance. And the idea that it's, they just give the presentation and it's recorded just makes it much easier. And, that's why we're having to actually prepare it, to do the presentation in advance, it's just requires more. And what occurred to me now is, what if we did a 3 or 4 hour event a week before Backdrop Live that is recording your presentation? Anybody who wants to do a presentation, they show up on this day a week before, and we record the sessions, and anybody who wants to come and watch the recordings can. But we don't expect a big audience, right? And then Backdrop Live is about the follow-up. It's the discussion, and we don't record anything at Backdrop Live. So if you want to do a recorded session, you come the week before, you prepare your presentation. And it would be a much shorter event, right? Because
Yeah, I like that. We also could have any number of rooms at one time.
yes.
So if anyone just wants to use Zoom to do their recordings, we could just provide a tool for that.
Yep.
Oh, I'm
Is
actually
it
not
possible?
sure we can
Can I-
do that.
Is it possible
other-
just to record the presenter and not record all the people? Or
Right.
to have people participate anonymously?
So,
You've
so
got to
actually,
kind of
all of those
record that on your local machine if you want to. The
There's-
presenter could record, couldn't they?
Right. Yeah, but none of those ideas get it. The heart of the original idea of Backdrop Live was we wanted to maximize participation. And as soon as you start anonymizing, focusing on the presenter, you're taking away from the discussion and putting the focus on the presenter. That's a different thing. So yes, all of those things are possible. If our goal was to have presentations with anonymous participation, there are ways to do that. We know that. But if our goal is to maximize the participation of every individual in the room, we can't do that by hiding some people and not hiding others. It's just never going to work.
And I'm gonna not this. So a couple of related notes, Tim, with regards to having a session before, like a week before, as you said, or something like that, which we record things. What are you going to do? Like, you're not going to have participants, or are you going to tell participants, sorry, no questions, leave them for next week? It sounds kind of odd. That's one comment, and you can reply later.
Sure.
And the other thing is that if our aim is to record sessions and then have people ask questions, what's the point of doing that when you can record these sessions, put them on YouTube, and then have discussions there, or any platform, right?
My quick answers to the two things is, one is, the first one is available to people and they're not using it. I think what people want is an allocated time where they can show up and somebody records their discussion. So the goal is to provide that for them, because it's hard to do it yourself. And it's a little intimidating. If there's just a scheduled time, it's easier. My idea for that event would be that people could show up to watch those sessions if they want, and they can ask questions during it if the presenter is okay with that. That's totally up to the presenter. The presenter could ask that they give their presentation first and then ask questions. They could allow questions in between. This would be like a traditional Drupal camp session or DrupalCon session that gets recorded. And then the Backdrop Live would be an opportunity for follow-up discussions about those presentations, or complete, most of our sessions would still not have presentations, right? Most of them are still just discussions. But at least those that wanted to would have an opportunity to record, to do a formal presentation, get it recorded. And it's also like, for those who can't come to the regular event, they could come to the recordings.
It could work, but have you thought about what's the word? Dispersion? What do you call it? Like, as in, separating the audience and then having less attendance. That's where I was getting at. My English fails me. I can't remember what the word is for that.
Dilution.
Sure.
Yeah, that.
I think that's a legitimate concern. This idea is only about 4 minutes old, so it hasn't been subjected to rigorous testing yet. But
Just to say it, that some people don't participate because they don't like how they look or how their voice sounds.
Right.
And that they just don't want to be recorded, in any way, right?
Mm.
So that's one thing. The other thing is when I first started going to DrupalCons, a number of people would record their, they would give their presentation, but they would record the technical demonstration. So they would not be typing commands in the console. They would record that presentation and say, like, here, I'm going to activate the module, and then I'm going to display it, and here's what the page looks like when this is on there. So they were never doing it live. They were always recording their content ahead of time to make their session go as intended. So I like that idea of recording a session ahead of time and then giving that and having a discussion. But again, that is a difference between a conference and an unconference. So.
Well, I'm going to recommend that we mull on that idea and talk about that in the near future, and maybe move on and talk more about anything else, but including the Stanford blog post and like how we want to follow up with that. Because first of all, any last thoughts on the unconference or on Backdrop Live before we move on? Okay, let's move on. So, we were aware of these Stanford sites like 6 weeks ago now, I think. It's been almost that long, hasn't it, Jen? But Stanford they needed a little bit of time before they were ready to make an announcement, and we didn't want to jump out ahead of them. So we've been kind of biting our tongue, waiting before we did any big announcement. Well, they've went as public as they can now. So we have the opportunity to make a big deal about this. And personally, I think it is a big deal. I think most of you will agree from the discussions I've heard. So how should we be responding? We did it. So far, we've done a tweet. Go ahead, Jen.
I've done a LinkedIn post as well.
I also added them to the mention section of our website, and Eric Tupin reached out to me today and said, how do I get Stanford sites as showcases? Which made me so happy. So I sent him back a link and was like, you could do it yourself, post it here. And so he's going to work on those. And he also asked about cross-posting some of them to our news page. He said we would love that, but maybe not exactly the same content. So he's going to think about it and see if he can reword it. He also is going up to the folks to see if he has asked permission for what he can say. And so he's going to get sort of clarification around what he's allowed to say versus what they're allowed to say, and try and put as much as he can in those posts for us. So it sounds like there's a bunch more stuff coming, which will be specifically for the Backdrop website in various different places. So I'm very excited.
I have two related things to note. One is that if they are hesitant to do cross-posting, we can still put that in our mentions. And also there was a discussion with Irina with regards to adding some sort of testimonials. So we can take an excerpt of their article and put it as a testimonial and a link to that article. So that could work as well. So yeah.
I started working on this. I got so excited. It was a Monday. I stopped. I didn't do any of the work I was supposed to do. And I started setting up. So we already had a section of the site called testimonials or quotes or something that was from, 10 years ago. And I looked at what was in there and was like, I don't think this is really what we want. I think what we want to do is pull quotes from the showcases and have them link to the showcase so people can learn more about the site where the quote was. And so I started setting that up, and then I realized that we also had this open issue in the queue for landing pages. And so I started building landing pages based on like nonprofit or higher education or whatever that would have the same like featured showcase block that we have on the homepage, but like filtered by that section. And then it would have a pull quote that was also filtered by that section. So I got so excited. The scope of what I was building became much larger. But so it's not done, but it was based on Irina's idea, and I did want to show you guys what I had in mind. But I will update the various issues with screenshots of my local site when it's ready.
Okay, is there anything you want to share
You-
right now? Do a
Yeah.
screen share or not?
It's not. It's
no.
not ready. But I did add a new field for I think it was called audience or something on the backdropcms.org site for showcases, and I tried to update all of the existing showcases, so it's now like a multi-value field instead of a single field, and it's a taxonomy term. So you will see some of the content. I needed the content ready before I could start building all the stuff, so I updated the content. But the landing page isn't quite there yet. I don't have the filtering on the view, and I don't have the quotes showing up per landing page yet. But once I get a proof of concept, I'll throw in some screenshots of it. And it won't be pretty because it's not like styled yet, but wireframes. I'll throw some wireframes and see what people think.
Sounds good. Martin?
Yeah, the other sort of case for testimonials quotes that Irene had raised was where people had kind of said things within comments on social media that were positive, and there was a particular one there where we might want to pull them out, do a permalink to the post, but say this is on LinkedIn, but here it is anyway. So we can capture those.
Yeah, I will add to that. And then, Robert, sorry, I'm stealing you, but we had other comments in the history of other threads that has started in the past where people came and said kind words about, you know, the community as well. It was very welcoming and people helped me out and my site is not done now, those kind of things. So yeah, Robert?
I just wanted to say that reading through that Stanford article, I thought this is like our whitehouse.gov, in that was the thing that I think convinced a lot of people to go Drupal. And, you know, a big reputable institution like Stanford,
Yep.
that this could carry a lot of weight. So the more we can spread this one around, the better.
Joseph?
Yeah, so as for that article, there's I think it's the second to last paragraph. They go over some of the stats about the performance of their sites on the new platform. And one of the things they mention is that basically they just did an upgrade from Drupal 7 to Backdrop, and they're increased the performance of their page loads by 50%. And then it also, also the tests and the significantly reduced amount of time to port. So that paragraph might be a really good one for some sort of quote or promotional thing.
I have a feeling there will be a few more tweets on that article this week coming from the Backdrop account, focusing on a few different things. But retweets, Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts, those are all good too. It sounds so. It's. I mean, Greg, we did. Jen already created a mention for the Atten article, so we have that. But the idea of getting them to cross post to our blog would be nice. But also, this might be a good time for us to write our own blog post that somehow ties into that, and I'm not sure what that is yet. Anybody?
Sure.
I hope that you know, even our official tweet today, I was just going to go and see if we're getting some retweets on that, because it seems to me the kind of thing that we have a lot of folks out there who are rooting for us, and I would think that this would catch a lot of their attention. And that they would help us spread the word. So,
yeah, I think there's quite a few different angles that can be pulled out from that article. One that I kind of led on from the LinkedIn was that basically that they'd invested a lot in their Drupal 7 platform, and they saw moving to Backdrop as being the kind of best for maximizing their return on investment. that they weren't going to basically be stepping off a development cycle for I think it was 3 months that it basically took them to do it, and then they were back onto their regular development cycle. So from that's a kind of return on investment. I think one other thing that would be quite a good one to do, they do mention kind of a watch this space at the bottom where they say that some of the modules that they've done, they're contributing back to the community. So that would be another good kind of angle to encourage people that where people have done custom modules, that they contribute them back, and you know, and just kind of big up the kind of open source principle that you benefit from it, but you also that there's lots of ways you can give back.
Anybody else? I have a thought, which is the Stanford discussion at Backdrop Live is both an argument about why we really want to record sessions sometimes, and an argument why we don't want to. Because on the one hand, I feel like the discussion might have, may have been more frank and interesting because people knew it wasn't recorded. On the other hand, it would be great to have a recording of that. And I wonder if we shouldn't be thinking about, and I don't want to put too much on the Stanford team, but if we shouldn't do another session like that we can record, because I think having a recording of a discussion about this would be great. Any thoughts on that?
I think that, yeah, I think there's some ways to achieve that and get some people that could do it for us. There's some podcasts that are happening around, so we can ask these people to consider inviting the Stanford guys for a recording, and that would be recorded, and yeah, we can put it in the machines there. Or
I think during that presentation,
we could either nudge them.
Said,
yes.
No, in the presentation, a number of times they said, I don't know if we can say this, but then they would say it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, we'll have to check if we can use that number, but this is the number, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right, Tim. That all that stuff wouldn't have come out in a recorded session because they couldn't really say that on the record. So.
So Jen, I wonder if we couldn't proactively reach out to some of the podcasters we know and suggest this, like the Talking Drupal folks. This is a great, overlap between Drupal and, and they weren't afraid to say that we still recommend Drupal for a lot of our sites, right? But
exactly.
Here's the use case where we don't, which makes this a really good topic for a Drupal podcast. Like, when does it make sense to?
Yeah, I think we could also recommend that they talk to Atten about it, because now it's backdrop information coming from reputable Drupal agencies, and they have experience with both, and they can answer a lot of technical questions, and it's not just the same people from Backdrop saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think that would be exactly a pitch to the Talking Drupal people, is here you've got a chance to talk to a user, a developer that's not part of the core team, and really encourage that. So, and these podcasts may pick up this on their own, or Atten or Stanford might even promote it, but we there's certainly nothing to prevent us from planting this idea in people's ears. Okay, well, let's think about that. What else good or should we be doing?
I was thinking about this, how we position Backdrop, and maybe what we need to do is come up with some sort of statements, like Drupal 7 forever. Are you happy with? Do you want to keep going with your Drupal 7 site? Right, sort of like sentiments that kind of can convey in a soundbite that a soft landing for Drupal 7, right? Things like that you could maybe have a rotating quote on the Backdrop website, right? That would kind of give people an idea that, hey, right, I mean, Drupal 7's going away, but it's actually not. It's continuing on. The heart and soul of it is what Backdrop is. And if we could maybe get those kind of cute quips, right, that would be like, hey, this is your escape, right? Drupal 7 escape, go to Backdrop, right?
Yep.
So might be more of a marketing. We need a digital agency to come up with that for us.
We're almost 5 minutes to the end, and I know that all these discussions are very exciting, but I was hoping to get into the subject of spam email, forum spam and spam accounts on the sites. But 5 minutes will not do it any justice. I think that we should either table it for a next discussion, or because it's an immediate problem, maybe organize a dedicated meeting for that. And while I think that the issue queue is best for that, it's still much better to have some discussions in person and flesh things out.
Sure.
and make some decisions and then summarize that into an issue.
Didn't Robert say that he was going to take care of this for the next couple of weeks and
Years, you said?
and watch the numbers, so that, I mean, we I think the discussion is good, but if he's going to take care of it for 2 weeks, we have 2 weeks, right?
Taking care might be a slight overstatement. We are trying some things. I guess the next thing to consider is something was in the issue queue that I sort of abortively started and Jen gracefully backed us down from, which was to change the human question on the user registration form to essentially a human-mediated CAPTCHA, asking people a question about Backdrop. I think that evolution can continue in the issue queue. And what I will be doing over the next couple of weeks is what I've been doing for a while, is every morning killing the 10 or 15 or sometimes 30 spam accounts that have been created. One thing we have installed is recording IP addresses for users. And although when I delete the spam accounts, the IP address module still keeps the record of visits, just says that those are anonymous. So we'll be able to see IP accounts that have, or IP addresses that have gotten multiple spam accounts. And obviously if someone is using Tor to create their accounts, that won't help. But so we will be gathering data over the next few weeks, and assuming folks are okay with proceeding with this new question on the registration form that's in the issue that Jen set up, I think it's safe to table it for 2 weeks. But yeah, then let's try to get it into the next one, and I'll put an agenda item in the forum so that we do get it on the agenda next one. 2 weeks.
Seems like a good plan to check back in on this in 2 weeks. I'll just to put some context on this. Part of the reason this arose again is that we're getting the city CRM group is moving forward, and Robert quite astutely pointed out that that it's going to be the spam. When people create accounts on backdrop.org, they will in the future be creating city CRM accounts as well, and this whole spam issue becomes a little bit of a bigger deal, which is kind of why it got attention in the last week, is we are making steps forward on the city CRM thing, which we also don't have time to talk about right now. But if people have questions, let us know and we can give an update soon. Go ahead, Greg.
I have a quick question. So last time, a few hours ago, when I checked the registration form, we had a biography field which was required. And I would like us to sit and examine the, user journeys, whatever you call them, as in why do people register an account and why we are assuming that they want their profile publicly available or a bio. Personally, my reaction when I saw that was, I don't need my bio there. I'll add just a dot and then subscribe, because all I want to do is just the newsletter thingy. So if we want to make this thing required, we need to make it conditionally required, is my opinion. As in, there's a checkbox that says, make my profile publicly available, or I want to participate in, create whatever content you have, and then a field appears that says a different workflow. But we should have very minimal, like low effort methods of registering that do not allow you to publish anything anywhere on the site, which is safe for us, no spam, right? The worst that can happen in this situation is that we have spam accounts creating just to check if they can post anything, and then they won't log in ever again. So we can clean this up after a year, right? But Jen, yeah. And
Yeah, so we started talking about this a little bit yesterday, and I don't remember if the conversation was in the issue queue or in Zulib, but the primary reason that bio got put onto the registration form was because having 3 text fields did not give us enough data to tell if that person was a robot or a spammer. And so we needed something, and bio was the field that was easiest for us to move there. We know that's not ideal. And we're hoping that the new field that Robert and I are working on, that is a human-facing question, can be something that could be better suited for that job. And not only would it become something the robots can use to detect if you're posting links to WoW Gold or whatever, but it can also be something that we can use as humans to be like, did you answer this question in a way that would make sense for somebody who's interested in Backdrop? And so we're hoping to get the bio field off of the registration form once we get this new field in place. The new field will still be required, so you might still be tempted to put a dot in it, but we're hoping that it will be exciting enough that you will want to actually answer the question because you're a Backdrop enthusiast, rather than just, I don't need a publicly available profile, and then not use it. So we'll see.
We got to wrap up, but Joseph, you have some final words?
Yeah, just one thing to keep in mind while you guys are doing this is that our plan was to eventually enable single sign-on across all of our sites. And so if we require people to go through a process to post on the forum, then that might discourage people from posting on our forum.
Sure. I absolutely, we need to think about that. The whole single sign-on thing too. That's something to keep in mind. So yeah, we'll talk about that more later. Let's wrap up the meeting. The dev meeting will start maybe in 5 minutes, I'm guessing. Bye, everybody.